Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. So much like the advice that you hear from a lot of digital entrepreneurs, they will always tell you you need to pick an industry niche. You need to be marketing yourself to a very, very specific and narrow niche in order to succeed. And that is not untrue, but it is also not the only truth. So I wanted to unpack for you today why I didn't choose an industry niche and why that didn't matter. Well, so far. So here's the thing. Much like every other business owner that I know, I am multi-passionate, multifaceted. We all are. But I, in particular, really was kind of anti choosing a very specific industry. It wasn't the scarcity of, well, if I pick this industry, then I have to say no to all these other people. It wasn't really related to that. It was more so I wanted to be able to widen my reach and learn a lot about different industries. And I wanted to bring my expertise that I have. I actually have a very varied career. I worked in software as a service. I worked in the restaurant industry. I worked in the finance industry. I've worked in the banking industry. I've worked in so many different areas and worked with so many different clients over the years that I didn't want to pick one because they were all so cool. Like I really enjoy a variety. And although I could pick one from a marketing standpoint and really focus on it, I just didn't really want to. And I hadn't really picked it. And over the last 5 years, I've built the business the way I have without really going hard on an industry niche. But I did go really hard on one thing, which was the founder. So I got really intentional about 2, 3 years ago with who we wanted as clients, but not from the standpoint of an industry. So a lot of accountants are given this advice like, oh, you should go with a certain industry like construction or hairstylists or whatever. And I knew that some of the industries I found most interesting were not always the most lucrative. I actually started in the fitness industry. So I actually did start with somewhat of an industry niche. That lasted all of a year and a half. But I also, in my company, which is called Financial Solutions, I started with fitness because it was my closest circle of people, because I had a network of people who needed this. It was actually why I started the business, was I saw a need in the space where I worked as a fitness instructor and said, I'm going to help these people. So that started, I guess, in an industry niche. But as it evolved, I really went away from, which normally people go the other direction. And the reason why was I had this kind of shift a few years ago when I was thinking about the ideal founder that we wanted. I had worked with a lot of people that were not an ideal fit. And it's funny because I think you can relate to this where you know who isn't an ideal fit and you can describe that very well in terms of your list of complaints of the people who you've worked with who you haven't enjoyed. And if you also asked, well, what are the characteristics of an ideal client? That's way harder to answer. At least it is for me. It's a lot harder to answer. And philosophically, I think our brains are conditioned to have a little bit more of like a good memory of the things that didn't go our way or weren't good. Or, I mean, look at Yelp reviews. It's a freaking dissertation every time that there's a bad review. But a good review is like, great service, excellent food, would go again, period. So we don't take a lot of time to recognize the good. We take a lot of time recognizing the bad. So I kind of leaned into that and I said, okay, let's think about this. Who are my least favorite clients, or who would I, quote unquote, vote off the island if I could? What are the traits and why? Why do I feel this way? What are they doing? What are their behaviors? What are their actions? What are their attitudes or whatever it is? Like, what kind of pisses me off about them? And from that, I then extracted, okay, there's a pattern here of the people who were disengaged, nonchalant, only called me when they needed something. Uh, let's see, just like their approach, their attitude, right? And I put together, okay, this is the list of clients that I would, vote off the island. And I looked at the common threads and I said, there are some, you know, commonalities here. And I turn those into core values because if you're willing to fire a client, if you're willing to fire an employee, if you're willing to release a relationship over something, that's called a core value because it means that's a boundary that, when crossed, will put you in the position where you need to take action to that degree. So when I redefined a core value as a boundary line, where if it is crossed, I will take, direct action, I then realized what the core values were of my company. And I've been refining and refining ever since, but we have 4 right now, and I'm super happy with them. But I also am super clear on who our ideal client and employee are because they demonstrate these values. Hey, did you know that you can actually see my face and watch this episode on YouTube? If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you head over there and you subscribe and check out all of the guest episodes along with some of my solos. We're posting every single week on YouTube. See you there. So when I was talking about going into an industry niche, I realized that, there are great and shitty clients in every industry. Now, could I pick the great ones and pick an industry? Yeah. Could I filter for these while picking an industry niche? Yeah, absolutely. But I decided to stick with first finding and refining and defining all of these traits that I was looking for in a founder, and then kind of seeing if I saw commonalities in terms of the types of businesses they ran, and then figuring out what type of business attracts these type of people. And I went kind of reverse back into it. Less from a subject matter standpoint, but more from a overall, really like the med spa owners I've worked with, or the fitness people I've worked with, or the coaches I've worked with. Like, who do I really like in terms of, an overall client base? And I like a lot of them. We have a big variety. And to go back to my core values, by the way, are reliability, collaborative communication, lifelong learning, and prioritizing impact. And those are really key for me and for my company and for our employees. But also, I actually present in all of our client onboardings, I present these core values to share with them, this is what you can expect from us and what we expect from you as well. So if the manifestation of these things, so for example, lifelong learning is being coachable, basically being willing to learn something new and realizing we all reserve the right to get smarter, which means forgiving us if we are learning something new in the process. We don't know everything. Also, being willing to learn and be engaged. Reliability is doing what you say you're going to do, fulfilling your promises to yourself and to others. So if you promise to show up and do your homework, we promise to show up and do ours. And if you come unprepared for meetings, well, we're hitting reliability right now. Like, we came prepared. We came focused and present, and you're calling in from the car. You didn't tell us that you couldn't make this meeting time. That's not reliability. And then we talk about collaborative communication, telling us in advance, when something is on your mind. Like, I'm thinking of buying a new vehicle, I'm thinking of buying a new business or selling a portion of my business. We got to know, like, as soon as possible when those things are happening. And if you tell me, oh, we already have an offer on the table and they're catching me up, I'm like, that's not collaborative. That is just commanding once you need something done and I don't have the background. I need to be able to be involved sooner. And then prioritizing impact goes both ways too, where if you understand the impact of certain things, especially the impact of your numbers, you are aware of where we're prioritizing our time, but also where you should be prioritizing yours. And that goes back to collaborative communication. We're always talking about what are the high priority items right now? Where should you be focused right now? And it's been super helpful to be super transparent about where the priorities lie. So those core values drive basically everything we do. It drives, our interactions with our clients, with our employees. It's a reminder to the employees of, remember to prioritize impact. Stop chasing that penny reconciliation and focus on what really matters to the business owner. And even beyond that, when we talk about picking an industry niche, we don't because we've managed to find founders who are in all sorts of different areas, but demonstrate all of this. So we have on our roster, we have an e-commerce apparel retailer. We have an executive search firm. We have an airport food service company. We have, we have a licensing and rights company. We have a land surveying company, an oil and gas vehicle maintenance company. We have a baseball agency. We have a screen printing shop. And we have a couple of med spas. So up to 3 now. So med spas is probably the most common. So we have a big variety. And I don't think any of our clients suffer from that variety. I don't think you have to look for a CFO or an accountant who only works in your niche. I think it does help when they have that familiarity. I'm not knocking it. but I was willing to essentially forego that advantage to say, look, we don't specialize in one particular industry. We have experience in a bunch, but in order to do the job that we do, the skill set we have can be transferable to various industries. And a lot of times, the problems the business owners face are not unique to their industry. They're unique to their maturity. So the other aspect of a niche is the founder, number one. Number two is the maturity of the business. So we look at businesses who are north of 3 million in revenue, ideally, probably 3 to 10 million. Our sweet spot is kind of in this 3 to 5 right now. A lot of our clients are there. And they are trying to grow, trying to scale. They are hustling and they're looking for new ways to unlock that next level growth. So that's like our specialty. My specialization is breaking out of that 3 to 5 million and like turning you into a $10 million business. And that's one of my favorite things to do. So if that is you, then that is who we are trying to serve. And I think that that is clear enough without being super industry specific to realize how many different levers you can pull in your business that are not industry related. So if you need help with revenue, we look at pricing, we look at how you're packaging your offer, we look at your audience, we look at your market size, we look at all of these things that are going to be unique to you, but we know the approach and we can lather, rinse, repeat that approach. It's what we do in power sessions. It's what we do for CFO clients. We have a ton of different actions that you can take that correspond to the particular issue that you're having or the constraint in your business. And we just kind of play around with those strategies and see what makes sense for you based on where you're at. And we love it. We also have a geographically diverse client base. And it's just been super fun to help these businesses grow. It's just been so much fun. And by the way, if you're less than 3 million in revenue, we still have power sessions. So if you're looking for help with unlocking those constraints, you can get the benefit of our CFO services in a little tiny package called a power session where you'll meet with me and we will go through your constraints and get you some momentum in the new year to make sure that you're off on the right foot, you have the right budget in place, you've got the right profit plan, you've got the right, tools at your fingertips, your forecast, everything. So if you're interested in that, take a look at our power sessions. But when it comes to really looking for a good client niche, I want you to realize that you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You can be clear enough in your own right with who you want to serve and what problem you want to help them solve. I think a more important way of phrasing a niche is a very particular problem you help with is more important than a profile you help, a profile of a customer. Because if we're looking at the problem over the profile, then you can really get clear about talking to that problem in your marketing, being able to address it and being able to solve it quickly and get a quick win for that client. So problem first, profile second. But I think that, depending on what type of business you have, just try to step out of the industry niche bubble once in a while and realize that there are some more important things in your messaging that you could be doing that could actually help you convert clients a lot faster. We realize that CFO services may not necessarily be accessible to everybody. And that's why we have packaged our CFO services into a power session for you. With this single purchase session, you'll be able to navigate the financial scorecard with me personally on your business and figure out what constraint you need to unlock next. We're going to give you direction, clarity, and we're going to find ways to increase your profitability, increase your cash flow, and make sure you never run out of money. Okay, if you're interested in booking a power session with me, I only do a couple per month, so make sure you jump on quickly and sign up. Check the link in the show notes for more information. I can't wait to see you in a power session.